Well, let's have a look at the local elections now. So after all of the voting, the counting, there's been a bit of shouting this week at the Results Operations Centre. Now the political parties have to work out coalitions, who they'll do business with and who they won't in councils around the country. Under the Municipal Structures Act, they have 2 weeks from the proclamation of the election last night to elect speakers and mayors. Right now, the ANC's National Working Committee due to be in a meeting to discuss what principles it will follow around coalitions. The Treasurer-General of the ANC is Paul Mashatile. He joins us now. Mr. Mashatile, good afternoon to you and thank you for your time. I know you won't have had any sleep since Monday yet, but we do need to start with this first. I presume the ANC is prepared to work with other parties to form coalitions. That must be the starting point, right? You are prepared to work with other parties.
Most definitely, Stephen, because as you know, we didn't go above 50% this time. Since the dawn of democracy, we've always been above 50%. This time we are under, so it means we didn't perform as well as we should. So we've accepted that in a number of municipalities, the metros, we will be negotiating with other parties to go into coalitions. We're looking at various options. For instance, in Joburg, they had what they call the government of local unity. In some instances, people will say, look, we don't really want to go into government with you, but we won't oppose you for the mayor as long as we know that your delivery program will address challenges that we have come across as we're campaigning in various wards. So the officials, the top six, met this morning. We looked at the approach and we've agreed that we will keep our doors open to engage with all parties except those who don't want to talk to us. So we've been given a mandate led by Comrade Jesse Duarte to start engaging other parties from tomorrow.
As I understand it, there was going to be a National Working Committee, an expanded National Working Committee meeting this afternoon. Is that meeting still happening?
The meeting will still happen on Sunday, but the DSG has been given a mandate to start talking to various parties. Obviously, the agreements will be finalized by the extended working committee, but we can start talks about talks with other parties that are willing to talk to us, and we may be starting discussions with the EFF tomorrow if we are able to get hold of them. We are still trying to find them. Then a number of other smaller parties. And then, of course, those who don't want to talk to us, we will leave them alone because I don't think it's worth running after people who don't want to talk to you.
So you say the EFF possibly tomorrow. Is the DA out of the picture completely?
Not completely, but we're getting a feedback that they might not want to work with us. I can't confirm it yet, but there's a message that we got that their federal council is not keen. We're going to leave our door open, even for them.
I mean, the issue, so there's so many issues here, Mr. Mashatile. I don't need to tell you that. You know that as well, better than I do. So the EFF comes from the ANC. Julius Malema comes from the ANC. Floyd Shivambu too, some of the other people in that leadership. So the issue then would be trust. And I mean, just to add a complication, the person who oversaw the process that led to Julius Malema being expelled, he was the chair of the Disciplinary Committee of Appeal at the time, is now President Cyril Ramaphosa. I mean, do you believe you'll be able to trust each other?
Well, when we discuss with the EFF, there is quite a high degree of trust. We just differ with what should be done. If you recall, in the last election, our difference with them is that they brought national issues on board, raising issues like we must fire President Zuma before they can agree to work with us. When it came to Tswane, they didn't want our chairman, Kosi Maepa. But what Julius said, and we will hear what they say when we meet them, was that if we can agree on a program of service delivery, they will be willing to work with such a party. And he made an example and said, look, people of Namaskral needs water, and they made a commitment as EFF that within 6 months the matter will be addressed. He says, if any party says, yes, we can work with you on that, it's something that they'll consider. So they are looking at programs rather than sharing of seats in the executive. We are open if they want to co-govern with us, but if they say, look, we don't want to co-govern with you, but can we agree on certain priorities and programs, then we'll support you, we will consider that.
Obviously, you know, the slogan for the campaign slogan for the EFF was land and jobs manje, you know, land and jobs now. In other words, land is still a big issue. And you and the EFF in national parliament had a big disagreement about land. They wanted expropriated land to be nationalized. You wanted 10 years, the ANC, which meant that the expropriation bill, or the way that it would change the constitutional amendment, hasn't yet gone through. Are you expecting land to be a sticking point? Julius Malema did talk about it yesterday.
Well, we suspect that they might raise that issue, but I don't want to preempt what they will say when they come to the negotiation table. All I think we should say is that we are willing to engage and find a solution, because at the end of the day, we want to move these municipalities forward and address the challenges that people are facing out there. We don't want to end up bickering about a number of other issues that may not help the residents. But you are quite right. But let's not preempt what the EFF might say to us. Let's wait for them to come to the negotiation table.
Sure. I mean, in some ways you're negotiating in the media, and in some ways you can't negotiate in the media. It's a delicate position that you're in.
And you say, Stephen, problem with negotiating in the media could be a bit problematic. So that's why we want to shift things now to closed doors where we can talk frankly.
Sure. So I do need to go back a little bit to the Democratic Alliance for this one reason. And I realize what you say, that the signals you're getting are that their federal executive is not that keen. And I think on balance that must be right. But what it would do for you is that it would probably put you and the DA in power in most places in the country, because in places like Tshwane, you know, you came almost, you're almost exactly the same, Ekurhuleni, Joburg, if I've got my maths correct. What that means is that would be the most, and Nelson Mandela Bay, that would be the easiest agreement philosophically. You know, if you two were to work together, that would be the easiest thing. You just need two partners. I realize politically it might be very difficult, almost impossible.
Yes, in fact, I mean, normally when people approach coalitions, they look at, obviously, the party with big numbers being given an opportunity to constitute government, and the second biggest, the party with second biggest numbers would be the one who should be the preferred partner first. And so we will look at those kind of options and look at grand coalitions. And I suspect, Stephen, that some parties might say, look, okay, you take Joburg, we take Tshwane. You know, they may want a swap. But we also have to be mindful to a situation where majority of people have voted for a particular party in a municipality, but we swap it to be a minority, so we're very careful about that. But yes, if the SG comes back and say, look, the DA is willing to talk, we will engage them and work with them in a number of areas.
I think you meant the DSG, but I'll let it slide.
Sorry, the DSG, the acting SG.
Oh, is she the acting SG? She doesn't say that she is. Anyway, let's move on. So the obvious other problem, Mr. Mashatile, and again, you know, I'm pointing out what to you is obvious because you know this better than I do, is that the 2024 elections are around the corner. They're not even 3 years away. They're like 2 years and 2 months away, I think it is. So you need to stay above 50% to stay in power in national government and in the provinces, by the way. The decisions you make about who you work with now will affect the outcome. So if you work with the DA, that might annoy some voters. If you work with the EFF, that might annoy other voters. So the problem is that the ANC, and I mean, in broad political terms, the ANC has sort of been the party of the middle. This is one of the problems of being the party in the middle. The middle is smaller than it used to be.
Yes, but Stephen, you are quite right. We are already looking at the future. In fact, let me correct something. I was quoted as saying that we should keep the ANC under 50% going forward. It was a slip of a tongue. In fact, what I wanted to say is it's important to keep the ANC above 50% as we go forward. So we want to win the elections when we go forward. But we need to take the experience of local government now on coalitions, do them properly so that in future, if we have to come across that eventuality, we are ready. But we're going to try and deal with the challenges that people were raising now long before 2024. As I said earlier when I was speaking to others, that you don't win an election during the campaigning period. You win it well before, because you need to start now and deal with the problems of the electricity in Soweto, in KZN, and all these places. Service delivery should be a priority every day, so that people can see this government is serious. The way we're addressing corruption in our municipalities, the mayors that we choose must be the right ones, credible, competent, committed to service delivery. That will stand us in good stead for 2024 if we do those things now. So what we do today and tomorrow is going to determine what happens in 2024. But we will be campaigning to win overwhelmingly come 2024 elections.
So within all of that, and I mean, I have no doubt that you will be campaigning very hard, is the possibility this time around of chaos in local government. So I mean, it is possible that you and the EFF maybe don't find each other, and even if you do find each other, and I mean, maybe you do, in some places that actually won't be enough, strangely. So the risk is, and I think this is a very real risk, that in many places, we've got just 2 weeks, there actually won't be coalitions, so it won't be possible to elect speakers and mayors. Now, if that happens, and there's a lot of contestation and there's a lot of chaos, people are going to get even angrier. And I think they'll actually get angrier with you because you're the national party in charge. You're the party in charge of national government. And that's a big risk for you too, unfortunately.
It is, yes. So the sooner we get this settled, the better. That's why I'm saying, we were discussing this morning as officials of the ANC. We've given the DSG a mandate to start moving, and we are talking to our local comrades in various provinces to be ready. There is no time to waste. We need, by the time stipulated by Electoral Act, we must constitute those municipalities, elect as mayor, and no bickering, because you're quite right. People are waiting to see whether we are now going to do what we said we'll do, improve service delivery.
Paul Mashatile, sir, thank you very much indeed. The Treasurer General of the African National Congress speaking to us this afternoon. Okay, so quite a few interesting developments there. They are talking to the EFF, not at this stage, the Democratic Alliance.